Sweater weather. Hi everyone, my name is Xenia, and if you're here, you're probably interested in zero waste, sustainability, minimalism, and mental health. Right. So I previously posted a short guide for everyone who's interested in zero waste, and today I would like to give some tips if you're a zero waste beginner or maybe advanced and or intermediate and you didn't know yet. Anyway, the zero waste actually doesn't stand for an actual zero of producing any kind of trash. This would be impossible. In the modern world, even if you die right now, there is no way yet to be disposed of your body that would not create any type of waste. This is why zero in zero waste is usually referred to the intention of creating less waste or minimizing your waste, living a low waste life, and eventually trying to achieve the zero, which is just like a perfection or perfect ideal is not really achievable. And another thing I have to add is, please don't put so much pressure on yourself. As an individual, there is only that much thing you can do to save the planet, and we actually have to hold the corporations and the government accountable for the options for zero waste, for non-wasteful types of products that we have in the market. And sometimes you have to really look at the package very well if you want to avoid plastic, because sometimes they make a bag appear to be made out of paper, but then you shake it and you realize that there's probably a plastic sack underneath it. That's often the case with cereal. So I would recommend to shake and to understand if the contents is just moving around freely there, or read the package. In some countries, I know that in the Netherlands, for example, the producer has to disclose how to recycle or dispose of the ingredients of the package. So for example, there is a plastic, it says what kind of plastic there is, and if it's recyclable. If it's a plastic lined with aluminium, for example, it's not recyclable and has to be thrown into the regular trash. And then if it's with paper, it says that you can put it in paper, and so on with other types of trash as well. If you're trying to buy produce in paper, please look for FSC certified paper. FSC stands for Forestry Stewardship Council. This is a non-profit organization that makes regulations and certification for sustainably produced cellulose, out of which paper is made. Let's talk about the types of trash that can be produced. The one that you probably heard the most is plastic. Now, why do zero wasters hate plastic? Well, we don't really. Plastic is necessary for many things. Plastic is used in cars, in medicine, in construction. What we hate is single-use plastic and unrecyclable plastic. For example, the plastic condoms that they put on the cucumbers, or any kind of fruits and veggies that have a thick peel that you take off. What are the alternatives for plastic packaging? One of them is glass. Despite being a little bit too heavy to carry, glass can be recycled endlessly, and it is much easier to clean and reuse. There is a caveat though. It's quite expensive to make glass because you need sand, and you can't use the beach sand or sea sand because it has different properties. You have to mine for sand, and transport it in big quantities. So it involves a lot of carbon for transportation and mining as well. You can find a lot of things in glass, for example, soft drinks and alcohol drinks, jams, sauces, soups, peanut butter, even some spices, coconut butter, whatever you think. You can then reuse these jars by taking them to a bulk store, filling it up with produce or making your own jam or pickles. A very budget-friendly tip is to use a clean glass bottle as a reusable water bottle. Before I got myself a stainless steel reusable bottle, I used a glass bottle from apple juice and it worked fine. It was a little heavy, but it was for free. Another common alternative for plastic is paper. A lot of food can be stored with paper without sacrificing its quality. You can look for bread, flour, sugar, salt, and pasta in paper, and it will be just as good as in plastic. Paper can be recycled, but it's usually downcycled. It means that the quality of material of paper will be lower and lower every time. And paper can be easily soiled with oils or just with food leftovers, so it's impossible to recycle. So don't put your pizza box in the recycling pile. Please compost it if you can, because it's not recyclable otherwise. The downside of paper as a material is also that although it comes from a reusable source, the trees, it actually takes, you have to cut down the trees, and there are a lot of unresponsible loggers that cut down ancient trees or rainforests. So for that, please look for FSC certification. It stands for Forest Stewardship Council, which plants back the trees that have been cut. It's not all white and fluffy, I have to say. It also has its downsides, because what FSC usually does is just cuts off the whole forest and then plants the trees back, which as you can imagine is not very good for the ecosystem. A lot of animals and plants that live in the forest then die or have to relocate. The animals, not the plants. So yeah, but it's the only solution that we have for now. And this is something that you'll have to do. And last but not least, substitute for plastic is aluminium or stainless steel, i.e. metal. What's also good about metal is that it's just as easy to clean as glass. It's more durable than glass. It's recyclable, and it's much lighter too. The problem with metal is that it takes mining. So it takes mining for materials, it takes a lot of labor, and mining is also devastating for the environment. The good news is recycling metal is much cheaper than mining it, so if the more we establish the recycling of metal, the cheaper it is, and I think it takes around 30 cycles of aluminium before it cannot be recycled anymore and has to be downcycled. What you should be on lookout is when aluminium is lined with plastic. It happens in some drinks. I know that the plastic cans are lined with plastic, but it's still recyclable. But what happens is often in cooking trays, in some packaging, plastic is lined with aluminium. It makes it much harder. So aluminium, when it's sorry, I say aluminium, not aluminum. I think it's weird. I'm sorry, North Americans. It's super weird. I say aluminium. I go the extra mile. I do the effort of pronouncing an extra syllable. So aluminium that is lined with plastic will be scrunchy. It will, when you take it, put it in a bowl, it won't, it will come back apart. So that's one of the signs that you have, and overall it's just much harder. And also you should look at what it says. If it says alu for aluminium at the packaging, then it's definitely aluminium. One of the common things I think that is not recyclable, and I often see it in plastic recycling, is blisters. They are not recyclable, unfortunately, but this is definitely not our fault, and I would never tell anyone to stop taking pills to be more sustainable. I have a thyroid hormone issue for which I take medication, and I would never stop it just to be more sustainable. So please take care and don't blame yourself. It's the way it is, and a lot of medical waste needs to be plastic and disposable so that there is no contamination. Let's go through the list of some of the materials that are unrecyclable. So it means that you try to search for them in recyclable packaging, or try to minimize buying them. Well, one of them, and it's probably already banned in where you live, is a plastic straw. It's very hard to recycle, and it's usually made out of type of plastic which is not recyclable. Same goes for all kind of one-time use cutlery. They are made out of hard plastic, which is also not recyclable, or if it is, it emits some kind of gas in atmosphere, so it's not recommended. It also depends on your area, on where you live, if it's recycled or not. You can use, there are paper straws, but they are also not recycled. They're usually, they should be usually composted because they are too soggy. And another common thing that you probably have at home is the chips or crisps packaging is not recyclable because it's plastic lined with aluminium, so it has to go to the leftover trash, to the general trash, or restafval as we call it in the Netherlands. One of the solutions could be to make chips or crisps yourself from potato, but also other vegetables, or I've also seen it sold in bulk or in plastic that's recyclable. What recently the Pringles did is, because their packaging is hard to recycle, they actually launched a recyclable package. I haven't looked into it, but I think I'm curious what's it now made of, because I would imagine that before it was made out of paper lined with some sort of plastic. Another thing that's probably common in your house, especially in your bathroom, is the cotton swabs, to clean your ears and do makeup, and also the cotton pads to remove makeup. Not only do they take a lot of resources to make cotton, but also they are not recyclable. So one of the things that you can do is switch to bamboo cotton ear swabs, or maybe not use them. They're not very good for your body, apparently. You are not supposed to put anything in your ear that deep, even though it's extremely satisfying. And for the cotton pads, for the makeup remove pads, I personally just use an old towel which is cut up on small pieces of fabric. But if you're more glamorous, perhaps you can crochet your own, or just buy them made of a material which can be washed and reused. Some of the common paper items that you think may be recyclable, but they are probably not, are sticky notes, because they're too small to recycle, first of all, and they also have a lining with some polymers to stick. And another thing is the bills, the paper bills. I think it differs from country to country, but usually they are lined with some sort of ink, which makes it unrecyclable, or sometimes they are recyclable, so check it in your country. But the best thing you can actually do is just refuse it at the supermarket. The only thing is, sometimes here in the Netherlands they print it and then they ask if you want it. In this case, I take them because then I can compost them. But luckily, more and more I see that there are companies that don't print receipt and ask you if you want one. So that's the way to go. As for the sticky notes from France or something like that, I just compost them. But what you can do is just use your notes on the phone. I love doing that. Or maybe then use a compostable note-taking book if you are old school, like writing, if you have a bullet journal or something like that. Alright, that's a big load of information I just put on you. Don't worry, don't get overwhelmed. You're doing your best. The fact that you're watching this or other videos on YouTube means that you want to do better. So I think it's great. And as I already said earlier, in zero waste or in sustainability, unfortunately, it's often not a black and white picture. It's very nuanced. You'll have to make choices. There will be dilemmas that you will have to solve for yourself. So, for example, choosing something in recyclable plastic or in paper that probably came from an unsustainable source. I won't comment what I would do, so maybe comment down below what you would do, and just share your insights. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for coming to my channel. Check out my previous videos and maybe the videos that are coming after that. And as all YouTubers and vloggers are supposed to say, please subscribe, push a like button and push a notification bell or whatever. You know, I'm not your mom. Do what you have to do, or don't. It's also up to you. I'm not your mom.